Hey everyone, VortexTCG here, and today I'm going to be showcasing you a deck profile of a deck that is, I guess, more casual than competitive, but I found some pretty good success with this deck so far, and I thought I'd showcase my build so far. Ended up getting me a second at locals, which is pretty cool, I think, and the deck is going to be Chessmon. Chessmon is probably the most unique deck other than Royal Knights coming out of BT13, using a bunch of different tools or pieces to build up your board and either protect your security or be very offensive. I'm going to be showcasing you my version of the build, and let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. And while you're down there, please do like and subscribe to the channel. It does mean a lot. Anyways, let's get straight into the deck profile. Okay, and so let's get into the deck profile. I am going to showcase the eggs first, which is going to be for Pawnmon here. Essentially, the Pawnmon is probably the best egg that you can play. That is black, obviously. There are yellow eggs that you can be playing, but I just don't think they fit. This allows you to search the top card when it dies, which all your pieces will be doing. If it's a black Digimon, you get to add it to your hand, otherwise you bottom deck it. You need to get some consistency going with this deck because you're going to need to find more and more pieces, so having the Pawnmon, in my opinion, is the most logical option. Then we get into the level 3s, and we're going to start off with Pawn Chessmon. This is the one that allows you to delete on your turn, and if it gets deleted you get to play a level 3, or if you have 8 or more Digimon cards with Chessmon in the name, you can add 2 to the maximum level of that effect. Important to know that this is probably the most important, one of the most important cards in this deck, because it allows you to do a massive combo, and also is inheritable. All the yellow black ones have reboot, so you need to play 4 of each of the chess pieces, if I'm being perfectly honest. So we also play 4 of the other Pawn Chessmon. This is the one that has an effect if you delete it on your opponent's turn. Same effect, just obviously it's black yellow, so it doesn't have an inheritable reboot. So you can set the combo up like this as well. So if you hit potentially like the Tamer, you get to play this out, and then you have a blocker that you can play, and then also go into another guy potentially. So very good piece for the deck, obviously. And then to round it off, I play 4 Junkmon. One of the things that I was struggling with is continuing turn after some massive plays. So Junkmon helps me with that, because essentially if I build up a stack with Junkmon and then go into a knight, and then I delete this with like a king, or just by its own effect, by swinging into security, I'm able to get a memory, play a guy, and also do more effects as well. So I think this card is very valuable, and I think this is probably the best level 3 that you can play. I know there's other options like the Goat Summon from BT13, but I just think that this is probably the best choice. So we play 4 of it. That is the rookies. Let's go into the level 4s. So we have Knight Chessmon. This is the yellow-black version. You can digivolve this for 2 if the level 3 has Chessmon in its name. Pretty important to remember that, guys. On deletion, if it's your turn, play a level 4 or lower Digimon card with Chessmon in its name from your hand without paying its cost, and of course it has reboot. This one's pretty good because it just essentially it's just a cheap evolution. Well, it's the normal evolution cost, and then you're able to swing and go into level 4. This means that you can go into the other level 4 for a follow-up turn or protection on the next turn, which is the Knight Chessmon here, the black and yellow version. Very similar effect, it just has blocker, and the deletion effect happens on your opponent's turn instead. So very important combo. So essentially these parts are very nice to play out from when one of your guys dies, so you're just able to continue blocking and continue applying pressure on the following turn. I also played 2 Strike-Dramon. I'm testing this out, and I kind of like it, but also at points I do not like it. The reason why I'm playing this is because sometimes I find myself having trouble finding a Tamer, and the inheritable is quite nice as well, especially if you go into level 5, you have 2 Tamers out and you swing. That guy wants to die anyways, so you're able to get additional memory, and then if you have 2 Tamers, they're probably going to be the Duo Tamers, so you're able to get even more memory when you play a guy out as well. So I do like this card quite a bit. Not really sure what other level 4 you could play in this slot, but I'm currently playing Strike-Dramon and I think it's doing pretty decently. Let's go on to our 5s. and so we're playing 4 Bishop Chessmon. Again, similar effects to the other ones. This just allows you to play at level 5 or lower when it just gets deleted, and it also has reboot, and it costs 3 to go into if it has Chessmon in its name. And then we also have a similar thing with Rook, the opponent's turn effect. If it deletes on your opponent's turn, you get to play level 5 or lower. Has blocker, and it costs 3 if you digivolve it into a Chessmon. So yeah, pretty much the similar effect, and we play 4 of each. For King Chessmon, this is the card that you ideally want to see most times, because this is kind of like your combo enabler. Essentially just means that you're able to get a trigger and also get ready for the following turn, because you'll probably be passing turn with this effect. Costs 3 to digivolve if it's got a Chessmon in its name. You can play this card from your hand. If you have 8 or more cards with Chessmon in their names in trash, you can reduce the cost by 8, making it a 5 cost, which means it's pretty good for late game scenarios, obviously. On player when digivolving, by deleting one of your other Digimon, you may play a Digimon card with Chessmon in its name other than King Chessmon from your hand without paying the cost. This is the way that you get to play out Queen Chessmon for free most of the time, which is very important, but also you're able to delete another guy, which means you're able to play out another guy from the guy that you deleted. So a really nice combo piece. However, the problem with this card is that it doesn't really do anything other than that. After you go into this guy, you don't have the blocker, you don't have an on deletion, play another guy, so it's a bit iffy, but you need to find this card pretty early on to provide a lot of pressure. I also play 4 Queen Chessmon. Again, I'm looking for that combination of Queen and King to play out with each other, and this card's actually pretty decent. It helps you go for game in a lot of scenarios. Essentially what this does is that you're able to swing, and then when you swing with your other chess pieces, if they die, you can unsuspend. And that's not once per turn. So ideally you want to swing with another chess piece, this unsuspend, swing another chess piece, swing again, etc, etc. It also has blocker itself, and yeah, this card is pretty decent. There isn't really much other than this. I kind of want to get the reboot under this as well, but most of the times you're going to be playing it out from your king unless you're in a pretty dire scenario. So we play 4 of this. You can obviously change the ratios to be like 3-3 or 4-3 or something like that. At the moment I'm just playing with 4 because I do just kind of want to see these pieces if they're in trash or etc. So it's very important to find them. 2 Defx. This card helps you control the field and also be able to go for game on the following turn. If you watched the game that I posted a couple days ago when I was playing against Hercules Cavalterimon, you realise that this card is very good at what it does, especially in this deck, because essentially what this means is that you clear the board or you weaken the board, then they build up again, and then you have a big guy, and if they're building up again and they're just hard playing level 3s to make sure that this gets deleted instead of their big stack, essentially you're doing the controlling aspect of this deck. So yeah, you play 2 of this. It is a very strong card in this deck, and it helps you go for game. Alright, so let's get into the Tamers. We are playing 4 of the duo Tamer of Miki and Megumi. This is arguably one of the most important cards in this deck because it allows you to play a guy out for free, and when you play a guy out from an effect, well, not from an effect, when you just play a guy that is black and yellow, you get to draw a card and gain 1 memory. This obviously stacks, so you get a bunch of bonuses from playing those guys, and yeah, essentially when you play this card it becomes a free cost technically, and also a draw. So you play 4 of it. I know there's some builds that are playing 3 of it, which I think is kind of ridiculous. It's kind of like a starting piece for your deck, because if you're going second, which you kind of want to do most of the time with this deck, you can play this, you can play a pawn and then play this to go into another pawn, and then you give your opponent like maybe 2 or 3 memory. So yeah, definitely something that you want to play. We also play 2 Izzy. There are cards that do not work with Izzy in this deck, but I haven't experienced that yet, so that's great. Izzy is probably just the best tamer that you could have, unfortunately. There isn't really many good black or yellow tamers that really does the job for the deck, so we played this. It will work most of the time, but there are some cards that it won't trigger off, which is unfortunate. But then we get on to options. I play 1 reinforcing memory boost. will have a yellow source out most of the time with either the Digimon or the Tamer, so this card's pretty nice. Helps you bolster up your security a little bit, and also you can manipulate it a little bit, which is pretty nice. And also, you know, just getting the free memory is pretty nice as well, because this deck sometimes requires a lot of memory. So we play one of that, and then we also just finish off the deck with 3 Heaven's Judgment. This card is quite honestly insane in this deck. As you're playing a dual color deck, you're essentially able to do minus 18k DP, and in some cases you're able to do minus 24k, and you can spread that any way you want in multiples of 6k DP. So yeah, this card also has a nice security effect, allows you to do minus 12k DP. That kills most of the Digimon other than like some level 6s and 7s obviously. Yeah, I think this is probably the best option that you can play, because essentially this deck sometimes has a bit of trouble dealing with a lot of Digimon on the field. Obviously we have the Defx to answer that sometimes, but having a Heaven's Judgment is also pretty nice for that situation as well. And I know like giving a lot of memory to your opponent could seem pretty bad, but if you're able to clear out their big stack or just a lot of threats, you're able to essentially go for game, or at least pressure going for game on the following turn. Anyways, that has been the deck profile for Chessmon. Honestly, I think this deck actually has quite a lot of legs to stand on. I mean, the fact that you're able to essentially play out a guy when you remove a guy most of the time is pretty nice, and the king/queen combo that it has is very strong, so I would definitely recommend playing this. The only downside to this deck obviously is stuff that bounces stuff back to hand or to the bottom of the deck, meaning cards like Mirage Gal are going to be super strong against this strategy. So let me know what you think about this deck profile in the comment section down below. I'm VortexTCG, and thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.